Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day, free enterprise fans around the world, and welcome to Season 4 of the Pink Puff League. My name is Possum Morpheus, and I am joined by the one and only king of SMS himself, Fried Potato. You can call him Potato, because it's easier. How's it going this evening, Potato?
It is going amazing. How are you?
I can't complain and it wouldn't help, and I'm certainly quite excited to be here to get to talk about SMS with one of the all-time legends and also watch some of the up-and-coming talent in the free enterprise community. So definitely excited to be here, excited to raise our glasses if we're puffs, so I guess I'll just raise a bottle of water instead. Oh, I see, we're just doing pink lyric. That makes sense. I like it. Well done, Sheep Launcher. Even when not in the commentary booth, Sheep Launcher doing amazing work behind the scenes. And of course, the one and only Alicel, making sure that the fires burn bright on screen and not behind the scenes. So thank you to our behind the scenes folks, as I said, for doing the Lord's work. And of course to our runners on stream, Taco Melt and VTafro, both up and coming runners in the community. Very excited to see how they're going to do with this SMSC today. Potato, looking at those objectives, looking at the starting character, what are you looking for to get a real fast start on a fast flag set?
With Supermarket Sweep, I'm always looking to get an edge as soon as possible and just start throwing things at bosses after you get some gear. And in this situation, it would be no different. My first stop is either going to be Agrit or Mysidia, I think, depending on who my second character is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm kind of on board with you there. Part of that is because, not gonna lie, I learned this flag set from you. When this came out, you kind of mastercrafted it. I believe Invenerable was the one who might have come up with the flag set. I kind of watched and learned a lot of you running this, and then really played the heck out of it myself. So big fan of SMS. I think it's a great learning flag set. There are some transferable skills, and you get to do things like complete 3 out of 4 objective quests here. So we're not going to complete the harp. It says complete Cave Magnus, and I object. So anyway, let's do the Baron stuff. Let's do that rat tail. We have a Porum. I am on record as saying I hate mages of all sorts in this. um, what's your thoughts on at least
Agreed.
having a white mage?
Oh, a white mage is useful in SMS, though I'm not sure I really consider Porum a useful white mage.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. Porum is certainly a character that exists. I find personally on this flag set something that I know we've discussed ad nauseum about the list, which is things to shop for: Bacchus, elixirs, cure threes, and things like that. Those kind of do what you need in the way of white mages, and we have some instant divergence here. Vitafro heading to Mysidia, liking your play of going to find that potential edge, and Taco Melt saying, "I want my free key item." So we'll see if the runners cross our paths, cross their own paths, excuse me. But we are greeted with a Rosa, a Twin Harp, and a Fusoya. Honestly,
Wow.
that's that's an objective, but I hate seeing a Fusoya early on.
Yeah, Fusoya in Supermarket Sweep isn't one of the characters you really want to see. Sure, he gets powerful, but it takes more time than you really want to invest in these flag sets at the beginning, I feel like.
Yeah, now something
Instant
you do
payoff
want to
for Taco
invest.
Melt.
Yeah, that's adamant armors, that's defense swords, that's long blades. There's Avengers on Vitafro's side. So Taco Melt no longer has to shop armor shops. There's sirens and life potions. That's basically like halfway through the items you need from excuse me, from item shops. There's
Yeah,
some
Troya,
coffins.
almost everything right
Wow,
there that you need to
Stardust.
clear the first 20 minutes plus. On the other hand, Curse Rings, Protect Rings, Avengers at the other shop, so.
Yeah, so we basically go to Mysidia, we go to Troya, and we're done, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need much else, especially with the people you've seen so far. You're going to find some melee somewhere.
Yeah, it looks like Taco Melt picking up some Sork robes. Maybe a bit redundant with the adamant armors, but this is one of the hardest things to kick when playing SMS. Is supermarket sweep is what SMS stands for. Uh, it's so hard to see really good items and not buy them because you're just like, oh hey, I have adamant armors, whatever. Sork robes are really good. Let me get those. I didn't need those. I've got a stack of 99 moon veils. Let me buy those star veils. Oh shoot, I didn't need those either. Also, there are just porums everywhere. That's a porum in Damsian, a porum in Watery Pass. There was a Rosa, a Fusoya. Are we just not going to find berserkers? Is it going to be one of these seeds, Potato?
If they're all gated, it could end up with some interesting choices being presented to the runners. That's for sure.
Do we think any of our runners are going to be well versed in the art of pure white cast reflect strats?
Maybe reflect strats come up often enough. I'm sure some of them have had a chance to do it a few times, but it's definitely, especially with Porum, it takes a long time still to get those levels and not time you generally want to invest.
That's certainly true. It would take a fair bit of time. But if there's no good Zerk options, even though we've now found Bacchus wine and Kaipo on top of every other good thing we've found, um, that
I
might be
would be
the
hoping,
option we have to
honestly, for a
do.
spoon right now, somewhere
Oh
super
yeah.
early. As awful as it sounds, that would be the thing that would let you go. I mean, you found grimoires, you found Stardust, as well as Stardust rods, I believe. So, you can start moving through the seed right now if you wanted to. But they already also have two key items that are required to beat the seed.
True.
So,
There's also the super secret tech that you never see because it's still probably not actually that good, where you could go and slap some adamant armors on a couple port and use the twin command. Uh, it'll pull. In this case, doesn't matter what twin it pulls from, but you can have the twin command with two porums, getting 15 bonus wisdom from that adamant armor, and can actually do pretty decent early game DPS with a flare. Maybe throw a tiara on if you find one.
this
Maybe
is why you
you
were the
might see
tournament
it.
champion. That is definitely a viable strategy that I would not have thought about until I was in battle, probably, and saw the activatable twin command.
Yeah, well, we'll see. And I appreciate the kind words, but not the champion anymore. That goes out to a number of different folks. But yeah, congratulations to those folks. I'll just have to settle for second. But as it is, we have our runners showing a little bit of divergence here. VTafro doing a little more shopping, and Taco Mel going to give us our first peek at what I believe is our last free character up on our deals. I don't think we've had a peek up here yet.
I believe that's correct. Yeah, this is the only one that doesn't require any sort of fight that's left to get to.
Oh, hey.
Hey, it's Kane. They have all sorts of gear for Kane.
Yeah.
I
So,
know
I'll go ahead.
they've already done some equipping, but I would just slap him with the best gear, smack him in the middle with that Avenger, and start killing bosses.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. One of the things about SMS is time is more of the essence in this flag set than any other from a pure racing standpoint. Now, if you're more looking to learn and enjoy, it's still really fun to kind of let Free Enterprise be your auto battler. Um, and what I mean by that is if you put an Avenger on a Kane and give him an adamant armor, that is plus 25 to agility and plus 25 to strength, which means that he is going to be hitting for probably somewhere between 1500 and 2000 at base level. Maybe a little less than that, since in this case, I think he's off center slot, but it's going to be devastating damage early on. Well, I'm a little surprised they're only 1,000. Um, Classic Kane.
Yeah, Kane, patently average, as we say. The middle slot definitely would have helped there, but it's more than enough to quickly get through the fight.
Yeah, and the first boss we see is Elements, or the first known boss, which I guess does lead us now to surmise that it is Rubicon in Baron. Should we end up having to liberate? Well, I guess we have to. Baron is hard required after all. So yeah, at some point we'll be fighting that Ruby. For now, we're just gonna go fight this Odin at back attack. Normally it would be a little bit of a scary fight, but I don't think we're gonna have much of an issue here.
No, this is a fantastic spot usually to run into Odin because the way the spot works, and he flies backwards. But you're probably not going to see that this time.
Yeah, and just like that, Taco Melt has dispatched the Odin and is going to show us what is in the Paladin changing room, while Vitafro is going to show us what is an antlion cave.
Looks like someone in chat asked if anyone's checked Hobbs, and I don't believe that either runner has checked that either. Definitely something I agree with as well. I typically fade it. With this party, I might have peaked it, but a boss fight for a character is a lot of times not necessarily worth it.
Yeah, definitely the case. Now, with this particular squad, to your point, I think I would have been looking for a Kane, a Cecil, an Edge in particular. Um, but anyone else I probably would just reset out of. Also, we get to see a very fancy thing happening there. Well, first of all, Taco Mount gets a hook from Ordeals, so that puts us a
Wow.
Baron key away from go mode at the 9 minute mark, and we get to see something cool on Vitafro's side, where we saw a fire bomb get used on Pale Dim, a big bomb, and those are all healing Pale Dim and causing glare counters. So the rarely seen glare counter from Paldim. So Paldim does not like any elemental magic, but is incidentally not weak to Holy, not strong against Holy, just takes normal damage from Holy, even though it looks like a white or Holy dragon.
That's an interesting fact. I'm not sure I was aware of the fact that it didn't resist the holy element in any fashion. But yes, in this case, you'd want to be throwing a Stardust or a Gaia Drum, some non elemental damaging item would probably do the trick. An elemental might work, but if it doesn't, you're going to. Oh, I guess the Grimoire itself won't provoke the Quake counter, but if you were to cast an actual summon on Pale Dim, it will counter with the Quake.
That is certainly true. And Quake is a pretty devastating spell, even in a low spell power spot. But there goes old Doot Doot Doot, and we will see where Vitafro goes after Antlion Cave. Hobbs may be on the menu as kind of a natural path over to like Fabul and all that, whereas Taco Mount will see where he opts to go next. Looks like we are getting the Hobbs check right now. There's an adamant rock from the Antlion Cave, so not really any value for Vitafro there out of the Antlion Cave.
That's unfortunate. You do get the spells for Fu, at least, so there is that. I like this play for Hobbs. Oh, and
Ooh.
look, rewarded for Takamel, especially if their goal is to go to the hook next, because knowing if they want to check the character, depending on if it's what the rat tail ends up giving, is a good idea.
Yeah, and we've also already found, as we're getting highlighted there from Taco Melt, defense swords. Those are going to do, what is it, like 2,700 base damage? They're incredibly good darts.
Yeah, definitely one of the better darts that you can get early. Going to clear everything on the overworld, no problem. Edge
And
is far and away the best SMS character just because of the sheer amount of high end items that you have easy access to, really.
yeah, I would say if we had to do some sort of SMS tier list, Edge is like S plus. Cecil is probably A plus. Kane is probably A or A minus. Fu is probably somewhere below that, and then everyone else is well below that. And chat was just saying, well, what if we find Excaliburs? Hey, we found Excaliburs. So by the way, you want to talk about really good darts. Those are the best. Uh, Excaliburs have what, 170 attack? 107, I don't know. It's a lot of attack. And the way that the dart command works is it's based on the attack of the weapon, and the level of the character. So as Edge gains levels and throws really strong things, yeah, it's going to do a lot of damage. And hey, elixirs and a pass. We've found Bacchus. We've found sirens. We've found adamant armors. We've found X-Gals. We've found defense swords. Are we done shopping?
Yeah, unless you want to get greedy for crystal swords and hope for a Cecil, I think you've got everything you need. Maybe hourglasses as well, but they're probably not going to be necessary with this particular setup.
Yeah, I think with this particular setup, we can probably just use some sirens underground and chew up a couple of eggs, because Edge will one-shot, Kane will one-shot, we have a bunch of coffins.
Asking if package is Cecil, do you sit through the cutscene? My answer in SMS is no. The only time I would take a package character is probably as starting package, and it was Edge. And even then, with the free characters, there's so many available slots. The chances you're going to get one make it a risky proposition. And with no boss hunts, there's not a lot of other incentive to follow through with the package.
Yeah, I would potentially consider it for our runners because they just may be more familiar with Cecil than other characters. Um, but I would definitely respect their attempts not to as well. I think it's pretty much a toss-up, though. Definitely wouldn't fault our runners either way.
That's a very fair
for
point.
going through with that.
There's definitely, especially with these flags, something to be said with playing to what feels comfortable for you. This is, like we pointed out earlier, a great learning flag set for a lot of reasons with transferable things, and learning what parties you're comfortable with, what sort of fights you're comfortable with. They're all things you can learn through this, even though you have access to things you're not going to get access to in every seed.
Yeah, definitely. And we see Takuma doing some more checks here. Gets virus for Fusoya, which is not bad. Picks up a magma key, so we can unironically get underground now. And, actually go accomplish things down there without having already been underground now.
That's excellent. Now you know you don't have to go to the hook route, which isn't difficult with these flag sets, but definitely is more time consuming than the Magna Key route. Although it does present, in some situations, a shopping conundrum, although they've already gotten everything they need in these flags, so they don't have that problem.
Yeah, I know there's so many times where you and I have both played this flag set where you pick up that hook and you might have a subpar team and subpar gear, and you end up in a situation where you're like, do I take the time to raise the hovercraft? Now, in this case, you have to anyway for the rat tails. It's a little different. Take the time to fly to Eblin, peek the character, peek the shops. It's a minute to a minute and a half, and ooh, that's pretty tough. Speaking of things that would normally be pretty tough, that's an evil wall. But as we alluded to earlier, that's a dart. That's a defense
One
sword.
shot, dead boss. There you go. That's the goal, really. That's the way to optimize SMS is to get to the situation where you can end a boss in one action, and that's
Hmm.
a lot of how I treated learning it when it first came out was fading even spots that you might have to go to, but if it's a boss that's going to take a little more time, you really have to think about that.
Ooh, and potential advantage here for VT Afro. Excuse me, for VTafro. He has picked up the pan, and if the pan bonk, which will not have a key item because of the flag settings, but if the pan turn into Sheila has value, such as that Baron key or something that leads to that Baron key, Taco Melt could potentially fade. Although, as I'm saying that, Taco Melt is now in Fabul, so advantage done and dusted, I guess.
Yeah, fading a spot with a main only is incredibly spooky, especially in this situation because of the required bearing key. Like you can't get away from beating the seed without that bearing key, no matter how hard you try. So if the spot you fade has it, you lose. And so I definitely understand. I wouldn't be fading anything overworld. I think, especially with this team, once it's online, you can clear it all pretty quickly.
Well, I do have one question for you. And this is going to be the burning routing decision of this entire seed because you said you don't like fading things that are overworld. We have not only something that we might fade overworld, but a required, potentially, objective in the Twin Harp. If that harp has the Baron key, it becomes a very, very tough route because you don't necessarily want to complete the harp and then have to go do Baron anyway. So how long do you put off the harp? Forever?
It is. I mean, in this particular situation, because I have the Pan and Feymarch available to me, I'm checking those three checks. And then if that doesn't pay off with the Baron key, I'm going to be going to Twin Harp. I'll be done with Sylph. I'll be low health. I'll be in Fabul, which is right next door. I think that is the perfect time to do it. Is just I go underground, I hit up Feymarch, Bonk Yang, and then we go if we need to.
Gotcha. And chat correcting me because reading is not a possum specialty. We cannot count and we cannot read. It is require all, so at some point the harp will have to be done. So in that case, I
Oh, I missed
rescind
that as
my
well.
prior
So
comment, and I would say we should be doing the harp
even
sooner than
more
later.
incentive, yeah.
Yeah.
In that situation, honestly, I thought it was 3 out of 4 as well, but I see clearly in front of me that it says out of 4. Uh, I would even potentially do it before I went underground because you might run into a situation. In this case, if Twin Harp gives Baron, you don't need to go underground to beat the seed. Now, you still would likely to grind, but
Yeah.
knowing that that's the only thing you need to do down there makes that trip incredibly quick. You're not going to Feymarch. You're not going, the long trek through Sylph Cave or yeah, Sylph Cave to Bonk Yang. You can avoid all those things and save that little bit of time.
Yeah. And we did find moon veils in Agert, and we also have some dragoon spears, so that could be even more helpful for eggs, although I think we already have killing power there, but uh, won't be too bad as we have Taco Melt has dropped a magma key. Vitafro is getting his hook, but we'll see where Taco Melt opts to go from here. And looks like it is going to be harp time.
I think that is, an excellent decision. If this is Baron Key, you've already got the underground open. You've done that magma key drop, so you can go into Baron and grind, or grind first and go through Baron afterwards. Once you know that it's going to be even less of an issue to get through it, and then you're straight on to Z.
Yeah, and also worth noting on Taco Melt side, sitting right now at 7 key items, the Twin Harp will give an eighth, almost certainly, and then you'll get one from Sheila 1 and one from Sheila 2, one from the Feymarch freebie. So between this objective and the Pan turn-ins plus Feymarch freebie, even if you hit the one Zonk that exists on K main, you are still more than guaranteed 10 key items before even finding Baron if it's buried. So you'll always be able to grind for the air quote difficult fights such as the Sealed Cave, Dwarf Castle, Top of Tower, anything that could be potentially spooky. Our runners are really well set up to be able to handle any of the potentially difficult fights.
Yeah, and with the locations as well. I mean, the scariest one they have to complete, be it besides Z, obviously, is the Baron Basement Throne, which
Yeah.
could have a boss. It's definitely a little more punchy, but like you said, with what they have available to them between the equipment itself and the moon veils, shouldn't present a problem.
So, Potato, I have a question for you. Do you want to
What
make
is that?
history?
What would I need to do that?
You would be the first person on their first restream doing commentary. By the way, an excellent job on your first time to talk through music. You wanna do it? You wanna talk through music with me on your first time on comms?
I don't think that's such a good idea.
Oh, one day. That's okay. Anyway, y'all, enjoy the tunes. DJ Spoonie B. And a very smoothly handled fight there by Taco Melt, taking out that Baigen at the Twin Harp. So not too much Arcana music, but a little bit there. Always a good time. And Vitafro, hot on his heels, there's the Earth Crystal, and that is a spooky key item to pick up.
That's not what you
Cool.
wanted to see there at all.
That is the last key item I wanted to see there because the Earth Crystal is arguably the worst check in Supermarket Sweep, arguably worse than the Harp because of the cutscenes, the walking, the two fights. That's a brutal find. If that leads to Baron, you could see a lot of fading here.
Yeah, I think in this situation, I would try to fade it. Like you said, it's just too much of a commitment. There's too many parts to it. Uh, you
Oh,
could get rewarded with the Cecil, which is nice, or another Edge, which is fantastic. But it's two bosses, a long walk, two cutscenes. It's just not great.
well, Taco Melt likes long walks on the beach, long walks up a tower, and double doses of music for the fans in chat. So between Taco Melt and V Tafro here, enjoy another rendition of that lovely Arcana music, y'all. All right. Both runners showing off very good fights there. Baigen down for V Tafro and Orbs down for Taco Melt. We see a Mylon sprite hanging out at Dwarf Castle 2. A Yang up here on the Tower of Zot. That's not really what you want to see for a character. Yang is kind of a punch mage. Not really ideal when you have Adamant Armors and Avengers and all of that laying around. But Vitafro picks up his Earth Crystal, and we have yet another White Mage. Like
Yeah,
in
it's
so many
not looking
flag
right
sets,
now.
yeah, in so many flag sets, it would be just dreamy to find a lot of White Mages. This ain't it.
Yeah, these are not the characters you want to see. They have, two and a half party members that I'm happy with on SMS. So
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I'm happy with that Kane. I'm happy with that Edge. Foo's cool, but like that's about it. And the rest of them are like this is a Poison Claw, Charm Claw, Yang.
at this
Like,
point, you're hoping to find Baron before too long so that you have that character check before you get too many levels so that you
yeah,
have an excuse to grind with the Cecil or the second Edge. You don't want to have to do Dwarf. You don't want to find that character at this point. You want the Baron key to be a freebie, probably underground, so that you can just get the Baron character, hope it's a good one, and complete the seed.
I mean I think in our runners' cases with both of them doing the Zot check, I think they wanted to be here rather than underground.
Fair.
To your point, yeah,
And it drops you off right in front of Baron, so it would
yeah,
be incredibly convenient routing. I mean, this is the trifecta of checks that you try to get Twin Harp into Zot into Baron if you already have all three of them
yeah,
somehow. But to get it naturally wouldn't be, especially on this seed, it would actually be fantastic.
yeah. And it would absolutely beat the snot out of me because I would have faded Zot here until the absolute last check. The Twin Harp would have been on my radar right away, but Zot would have not. Um, and so if Baron is here, I can tell you that a lot of these puffs would have beaten yours truly today. That's for darn
Yeah,
sure.
likely me as well, really. I think I would have put it off until after hitting the underground stuff, especially with that pan available to me. I really have a hard time fading freebies, quote
Yeah,
unquote. So,
and we get a darkness
ooh,
crystal.
that's not really what you want to see. It is another character check and another shop, which is fantastic. Although we don't really need to shop, we wouldn't mind another character, but that's another cutscene you have to sit through to access it.
Yeah, and Taco Melt saying it is time to go underground. So, while we're doing this and discovering a tiny bit of new information, but not too much, I do want to make a special shout out to a member of the audience, uh, one Oscar424. We know her, we love her. She is the founder of the Pink Puff League, the Puff Master Supreme. So please make sure, uh, and she probably won't even put her own details into chat, but we can fix that. Click on her name, go follow her. Asuka is a wonderful member of the community, does a great job with the puffs, and a fantastic job just in general. And gonna have to do the whole, oh, by the way, recently was added to the admin team for Free Enterprise. So great job to Asuka on all fronts. Bravo, and thank you for all you do. Oh, yeah, and she's a good runner of this game and so many others. Thank you, Asuka.
Yes, thank you, Oscar. I wish that there had been a Pink Puff League when I started in FE. I played a lot on my own and had to learn a lot of things the hard way, and I've seen a number of runners just take off with the extra help that the Pink Puff League has provided.
Definitely. I wish there would have been a Pink Puff League when I started as well. Instead, I got to learn on Fabul Gauntlet bracket seeds, courtesy of like Dr. Cossack and Woo Bear, which nothing against them, but man, those seeds were hard. I could have used some TLC, but yeah, just got destroyed over and over again. But trial by fire works for some, but probably not recommended for most.
There's a lot of information, a learning curve, and the evolution of the randomizer itself. To all take into consideration. So it's the more things like the Pink Puff League we have for new people, just the better everything's going to be for everyone. I think.
Absolutely. And it's worth noting that the pink puffs, you can stay at whatever level of competition you want while being a pink puff. Obviously, if you get to, let's say, the Cubs level, the Ribon level, Curios, um, you know, Engie Dave, Funnel Cakes, that type of level, uh, you will, air quote, graduate out, but you are still a puff at heart. That would have been something that you started out as, and you get to claim that badge of honor as being a Puff graduate. And then, as we've seen in every tournament since the Pink Puff League has existed, a Puff champion. These Puffs, they're just winning everything now.
Yeah, anytime someone comes out of the Pink Puffs and starts on the ladder or anything, it's a little scary because I know that they're just incredibly well prepared and they're likely going to be performing at a very high level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that in chat. Flantastic. That's wonderful. But we see Takum out here making his way through Dwarf Castle, uh, dispatching both bosses there. D-Lunars into Mylon and friends, so the zombie dance party with the hand crawling towards, I guess that might be like a disco ball or something to stay thematically appropriate. Yeah, we'll see what we get from Dwarf Castle. Still leaving those pan turn-ins and the Feymarch freebie on the table.
Yeah, definitely scary. But if this is nope, if that was the Baron key, you'd feel really good. So
And there is that magma key for Vitafro. We'll see if he goes and turns in that rat tail as well before heading underground. is, I think, behind a couple of key items here. So, not too far behind though. If he goes straight to Fame March or to the pan checks, as soon as he gets underground and fades dwarf, right back in this because he's going to have the same items. Um, both
Exactly.
runners are
It
going to be kind
doesn't
of neck and neck.
it doesn't take a lot to make up that time if you fade the right thing, because everybody should have a fairly equal level of gear and characters available to them.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the big thing is they all have adamant armors, which just makes everybody's lives so much easier. Uh, Adamant armors let you get away with relative murder in this and many flag sets because it is a really, really heckin' good piece of gear. 100 physical defense, or is it like 30 magic defense or something? A ton of resistances, reducing fire, ice, and lightning to one. Um,
It sets most
it's
bosses to easy mode, really. You
yeah,
you can you can ignore most of those mechanics that trip you up on a normal siege. You
yeah,
don't have to worry about counters, physical or magical in most cases. You don't have to worry about front row, back row taking too much damage, or status effects. All those things that you worry about on the bosses that you worry about are negated by this one piece of equipment in most cases, and it's a wonderful thing.
yeah, absolutely. Just being able to not have to worry about people dying and being able to focus, on those bosses being dispatched as quick as possible in the true spirit of SMS. Well, there's a pink tail, which would be cool if we didn't already have 99 adamant armors. We really don't need
Number
100.
100, right? That's not what you need here. I understand why the shopping, but that is, as you pointed out earlier, one of the things that you can optimize the most out of supermarket sweeps, believe it or not, is cutting down the
Yeah,
amount of shopping you're actually doing.
yeah, it's a very flag set specific thing, though. I think that in most flag sets, as soon as you get underground, that's where the good stuff is, and you're just so conditioned as a runner. I got underground. I got to check everything, and you don't even think.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, you're in full race brain mode, and you're like, oh, I uh, I've got to check those shops. Dwarf Castle's got good stuff. Tarma's got it. Feymarch has it, and then it's like, wait a second. I found my elixirs, my Bacchus, my good darts, my weapons, my adamant armors. I found my pass. I have
Yep,
my
that
sirens.
running
Like, what do I
checklist
need?
in your head, exactly, and that's one of those transferable skills that you were talking about, that running checklist of what
Yeah,
do I need to complete the seed, that can hold to any flag set that you're running, and
true.
once you get used to that, you can start cutting off your shopping, cutting off your looting when you've reached that limit.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, that is one of the biggest time saves in this particular flag set. Less so in others, but still can save some time.
Definitely. In
Uh,
other flag sets, it might cost you trying to
True.
cut out your shopping. I know it has me many times not having exits or cabins on the moon, let's say, has definitely put a damper on several races.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see here, so Vitafro faded the Feymarch for right now, doing the Pan Bonk. We'll see if he goes through and follows Taco Melt and just turns these pan checks in. If so, on stream, we are going to be, what, 30, 45 seconds apart? Looks like Taco
Really
Melt
close.
is going to
Oh,
do the grind strategy first, though. I do like this.
yeah, as soon as you have 10 key items, get it over with. There on these flag sets, especially, I feel like it is just do it as soon as you have the option, because you don't need to do it at any particular time. So just get it over with, especially when it's convenient. Like in this case, you just drop the airship down, 5 tiles away from where you are, uh, and grind your eggs.
And also, thank you, Kane, for failing to kill an egg with an adamant armor and an Avenger on. Bravo.
Oh yeah,
Never failed to disappoint me, buddy.
the egg grind is another one of those things that can be optimized in certain ways. Because you don't want to run into those batch attacks. You don't want to run into surprise. You don't want to run into the situation where you make the dragon hatch. And there are things, party ordering, honestly, unequipping the adamants from everyone but Edge, stick him in the middle slot is probably your best bet for the grind. Put the adamants back on when you're done if you need to. You may not even need to. Edge by himself can probably finish whatever bosses you have left,
Yep.
and then you prep for Z.
Yeah, and I think actually in this case, all you need to do is take the Avenger off of Kane, put Edge in the middle, and just have him dart X-Gals. Dart, 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 dart. And it just becomes the fastest possible grind out there. One of the interesting things, though, that Fusoya does bring to the table, in addition to being a Cure 4 bot, is that Fusoya will allow you to equip a curse ring to him and have 5 agility. So Fu, because he caps at 20 for his agility until you get to, level 70, I think, 71, which we're not getting there. Fu basically is stagnant on agility, which makes him a great active anchor, where he can still do stuff, he can be functional, but his best use in this case is going to be kind of just to sit there in the middle and make everyone else as fast as Z.
Yeah, he definitely is an excellent anchor for that reason. Anyone who has fixed agility and can equip those agility manipulating items tends to be favorable for that, I find. Which is really him and Tella, for the most part, which, funny enough, they fill sort of similar roles. But in this situation, too, you're happy to have a food. Just those extra options at Z is always nice in case something happens. Cure 4 single target, cursed. You could have the worst equipment in the game. It's still going to heal somebody to full, and that's a wonderful thing.
That's true. You could have 3 curse rings and 2 drain spears on somebody, and they're still going to full heal someone with a Cure 4. Shoutouts to Omnidextrous. So what's the dream here? We haven't seen top of tower. We're going to go do these pan bonks. Are we hoping for like a tower key here and like a spoon? And then we go do both parts of tower. It leads to a sealed cave gauntlet, and that's like a last location Baron key just for memes.
I mean, that's the thing with SMS. It's designed to be a quote-unquote fast flag set, but especially with the double dip at Baron and require all, you are potentially running into 17 out of 17 anyway.
Yeah, and we get from Sheila 1 the Baron key. So Taco Bell
was available very early. Just Baron in, go underground, talk to Yang, come back.
So also worth noting with that, Taco Bell didn't even do the pan turn in there. I think it was just the Sheila 1.
100% agree with that. You don't need to sit through the extra time. The best it's going to give you is the spoon, which you could throw for a lot of damage, but you don't really need that with the X-Scals. So.
Yeah, really heads up, saving, it's probably only 5 seconds or so, but really, really heads up, honestly, because we've seen tons of races decided by 5 seconds, so...
I have lost several of these by less than that. So yeah, it's definitely it's all about the little decisions and the time that adds up to over the course of the seed. It's hard to tell when you're running it. Even you have to kind of go back and look at your performance multiple times to get a good read on it.
And to answer a question from chat, yes, it is require all for the crystal, and then got to beat Zeromus. If there were no Zeromus involved, then you would probably not have seen a grind here. But with it being Wind Crystal, the grind makes a lot of sense for both runners, so they can be prepared for Zeromus and anything in their path.
Yeah, not knowing who the Baron Throne fight is or the Baron Basement Throne, that one especially could you have the adamant, so it's free. But you still want to make it as fast as it can be, so you want to go in prepared.
Yeah, it's free to a point.
Right, there are still bosses out there that could, throw a little bit of a wrench in the plans, so to speak, depending on how, the hits land or what the mechanics are.
And I'm interested to see here, does Taco Melt go to the basement first to save a couple seconds? Okay, this is really, really prime stuff from a newer runner. recognizing not only to do the pan, the Sheila 2 check, but also going into the basement first before clearing. This is fantastic. That's a lot of acumen shown for a relatively newer runner to be making those sort of decisions on the fly. Really heads up, really liking that play. And here is a boss that actually, the counters from Antlion would penetrate adamant armor. That's not going to be relevant here because Antlion's going to be extraordinarily dead. But this is a boss that if someone went down here and kind of YOLO'd early, this could have been a potential issue even with adamant armors.
Definitely, you'd want the HP pool to be able to soak the hits, as we see there. Even Adamant Kane taking 300 and something. So if you were to try to do this pre-grind, and people can only take 2 hits, it could still be spooky, especially
Yeah.
since Edge would be doing less damage.
Yeah.
The damage of the item is fantastic, but his level does apply to that calculation. So.
And there is that tower key, so we do now know that the tower key was from Sheila 2. Vitafro showing us what that missing key item was from Taco Melt's side. But Taco Melt, quite a bit ahead, I would say, here at this point, has really demonstrated some pretty high level, small time saves, which I think has been very impressive so far. One thing, in particular to look back at, and this is a purely experience-based thing, probably in the future we'll look to shop less, but otherwise this has been a really great run by both runners. I think they've both shown a great amount of skill here.
Definitely, it's these are newer runners. They're learning things. That's what the Pink Puff League is all about. So yeah, there's always going to be things that they're gonna be able to look back. I mean, even seasoned runners get to do that, look back on and improve. And so
Yeah.
hopefully they look at the positives of their runs as well as the things that they can improve upon. And here's a boss I do not like at all in Super Mario Sweep.
Yeah, the queen of time wasting, Mom Bomb. Pardon me while I sit here and just make you go through 9,000 extra health for no reason at all. But that won't be too much of a problem. We have power overwhelming at this point. 4,000 on the throne plus 9,000 extra is 13,000, which is less than the damage that was dealt, and that's a Sid, which means that if Cecil is around, he is somewhere on the moon, right?
Or
I guess the hook route is
package
Sanderby.
character.
Oh yeah, okay.
Peak Sanderby, I think it was Tella. I feel like we saw earlier on in the seed, but the moon, and yeah. So, not gonna get a Cecil. That's a little sad because I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but I don't think Edge has anything better than full moons or long swords, which is plenty, but not really what I want to go into the Z fight with on Super Mario Sweep.
Yeah, this is an interesting Z fight. I would actually be darting X-Gals here and not zerking him.
Agreed.
Which is very rare. But that is the crystal for Taco Melt at the 46-minute and 55-second mark. Our first runner on stream in Go mode. And we will see, is there more grinding or is he off to the big bad final boss? But before we head to that big bad final boss, I want to make sure we give Taco Melt and Vitafro a big shout out for going through and volunteering to be put on the big stage here, to let their talents shine through. And we see here Fusoya getting the adamant armor unequipped, not even equipping the curse ring. And this is also an interesting little time save, because realistically, if you're zerking up, you don't need relative agility 1, you just need relative agility 2, and everyone else with adamant armors can do that. But Potato, we have some Z flags in chat. We have some last minute menuing happening here. But those Z flags in chat from Sheep Launcher and friends, as is free enterprise tradition, it's your first time on comms, my friend, and you've done a heck of a job. So I believe there is a question that you must ask before it gets too late in the evening.
I think that question is, whose butt are these Pink Puffs going to kick tonight?
And is it cute? And does it have a hat? And will it kick our butt in the next tournament? The answer is
Can it
probably
do
yes
your
to all of
taxes?
those.
Right? There are so many
There
questions. I
are.
love how it's been expanded upon as time has gone on. Much like the sprite pool itself.
Yeah, we already know there's a potato muss, there's a possumus, there's hummus. There's so many foods. I'm talking about food because I'm hungry.
I'm
Um,
right there with you.
which is probably the wrong approach to take, but that's okay. But let's see, we have a crystal getting tossed here. Taco Melt looks like we're getting a moon veil up on edge. So I wonder if we're going to get some possible reflected whites or nukes here, or that might just be a safety veil so he can keep darting. Interested to see what the
Yeah.
strategy here is. But we have it's Eisenmus, I believe.
That's the villain from Bleach.
Yep. And I don't know. Some folks in chat say cute. I I guess. I don't know.
He can make you think he's cute, so I think that counts.
It's fair.
Yeah, and it looks like you said, we're getting some reflective whites, which I agree with. At this point, if you're not just zerking everyone, and even if you are, might as well throw all the damage you can and see.
Now,
You've got Foo.
I may have missed it. Did we get a nerf on this Big Bang?
That's a good question. I don't know.
That's a no.
It's a no.
Okay.
It's fine. This is fine. This should be fine.
Yeah, I think all we need to do from here is just get a Cure 4 up with Rosa, and the boys will not take more than 2,400 from the next Big Bang. Yang, between taking a Big Bang and a Meteo, unless he gets basically max rolled on both, I don't think he can die either. We probably want a life or even maybe life 2 on edge here.
Yeah, that's a good call, right? You want to get someone else up. You really, it's not. You don't need to nerf the first Big Bang in these flags, especially. You typically are going to have an abundance of health, an abundance of defenses to help live through that. In this case, 3 out of 5, which is enough. But you don't really want the damage slowdown. So getting that edge back up and get him start darting again. You don't worry if he dies again. As long as he's getting, especially 7,500 a dart, it's a good number.
Yeah, edge is kind of like our disposable income, if you will, where we're just gonna throw money at our problems. Obviously, this is not Guild Toss or anything like that, but Edge is just throwing whatever he can at the boss to make it go away. And if Edge dies, he dies. We bring him back to life, and then we do it again. That's kind of his purpose in this, and I do agree with throwing the X-Scals here again, as opposed to going through and zerking this Edge. I think it's a lot more damage in the long run. So again, definitely agree with that decision. One of a couple that Taco Melt has made that have been fantastic this season. And there's Rocks. This is a little spooky. Who gets to dodge? Edge dodges. We should get one more X-Gal off, and that should be near the finish. We'll see here.
That looks like it's it.
All right, and GG's to Taco Melt, our first runner on stream to finish, our third place runner overall. Great job to Taco Melt. We'll see if we can get him in for an interview. Also worth noting, off stream, we did have 2 runners finish. Just before Taco Melt did, we had David B finishing in first place with a time of 48 minutes and 41 seconds, and 14 seconds behind him with a time of 48 minutes and 55 seconds, E Ninja coming in second place. So Taco Melt gets third place overall, first place on Restream. GG's to all the pups who have finished so far, and looking forward to see the rest of the finishes come in from Vitafro and the rest of the pups running tonight.
Yeah, GG. Excellent job by everyone. This wasn't one of the more straightforward supermarket sweeps that we've seen. So,
Hello.
All right, and I believe we are now joined by Taco Melt. Uh, GG's to you, Taco Melt. Very well run.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like I could have improved in some areas, but I think overall I did pretty good in terms of logic.
Yeah, the basically your routing was pretty sound as far as we thought. Maybe the only thing was the Tower of Zot maybe not being necessary, but other than that, you ran real smooth. You made some very good decisions there, like when you got the Baron key, not turning in the pan uh, to do that Sheila 2 check because you didn't need it. And then doing the Baron basement before liberating Baron Castle. Kind of take us through like those two decisions. What really predicated those?
So I decided to, while I was down there, I already counted I had 10 items, so I know I had XP up. So I was in the basement and I was like, well, I'm going to get my levels now in case I get a Baron key from Sheila. And I was like, okay, I got the Baron key from Sheila. And I was like, oh, I'm go mode. So I know that it takes like a really long cutscene after you liberate the castle to get the key item, but I was like, then I'd have to go all the way back in. So I was like trying to keep as much time as possible by doing the Odin, because I know I was strong enough to do whatever it was there, and then do the castle, and then just go.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was some really heads up decision making there. Um, and I know I've seen you around the community and a lot of different streams and such. Uh, what brought you into the Pink Puff League? What made you decide to join? How long into your free enterprise journey are you?
So I'm actually fairly new. I've only been playing for about a week or two. I guess ever since I was watching Possum play.
Oh, hey,
So
that's me.
yeah, and I was watching. I think that's OK Zach, or I forget how his thing goes, and he was playing some really cool seeds, and I just picked up the Pixel remasters of Final Fantasy IV, and I played this game when I was a child. When it came out, I had to spend my birthday money on it, so I loved this game growing up. And then I just started watching. I was like, man, these look like really cool. And then I decided to download everything, get it going, and then I got on the Discord and was like, hey, such a friendly, great community. A lot of help, a lot of great people out there. A lot of smart folks. They just know what they're doing, and they helped me get set up. And they were like, hey, you know what, you're new. Why don't you try this Pink Puff League? And I was like, why not?
Yeah, there you are already. Third place in your first race after a week of racing. Dark horse for PPL Season 4 champion? Question mark.
Nope.
But Potato, I've hogged the mic here in the interview with Taco. Any questions for our first place finisher on Restream, third place overall this evening?
I don't think I have any questions. You covered the specific points. Definitely a GG, fantastic run to watch, and glad to have you here in the community. Participating and enjoying it.
Well, appreciate it. I look forward to doing more in the future. So hopefully I can get a little bit better. I think you're right about the Zot play. I think I was kind of like, well, I'm already up here. I might as well try it. But there's always things I can learn better.
Yeah, and that actually leads me to my last question, being that the Pink Puff League is more our development league than like serious hardcore racing league. You've been part of this a week, you said basically. What's the biggest thing you've learned, now that you're running the game in the week that you've been doing this?
So the biggest thing that I've learned is when to take a risk. I was watching Possum, you sir, and I was like, well, when was a good time to actually do an off-route thing in terms of a race? And I'm like, part of that decision making of doing Zod, I'm like, well, would anybody else do Zod at this point?
Mm-hmm.
And if the Baron key is there, then I'm going to, basically win this thing because I'm making an off-key play. But I kind of led into it, and I was like, I could always do better.
No, and that's absolutely fantastic analysis of the situation. That I think we even highlighted that if Baron is there behind Zod, I think Potato and I both agreed that we'd have lost by many, many minutes to anyone who did that check and hit. So it's absolutely the correct analysis, and I think you're 100% spot on that.
Yeah. I mean, I had a few other items. I was like, I could always improve my characters. So I was like, I was gonna get 2 characters too. So I had a little bit extra motivation there because I wasn't too happy with what I had.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, we won't keep you on too much longer. We'll let you enjoy this very successful debut run with the Pink Puff League. Any final thoughts before we let you enjoy the rest of your evening?
Oh, I'm just very thankful for how generous everybody is and how awesome this community is. You guys have a wonderful night.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Taco Melt, for putting on a heck of a show for everyone. And hope to see you in the weeks upcoming in Pink Puff League and beyond. So, again, take care. Have a great night. GG's one last time.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Fantastic.
And timing is everything in life, I believe, Potato. And I believe, just as we're finishing one interview, we have a completed Z fight for Vitafro, who has finished in 6th place, 2nd on Restream. And we have a couple other finishers in the interim. Genobean finishing in 4th place with a time of 55:39. Dubward in 5th place, 56:33. And then right behind Vitafro, we have a 7th place finisher in JMac the Librarian. And as I'm in the race room looking at this, we now have an 8th place finisher. All these puffs are too heckin' good. I can't read this fast. Raging Levine in 8th place at 1 hour and 4 seconds. And hey, there's a 9th place finisher, Darth Plagueis, with 1 hour and 14 seconds. So, okay, yeah, I'm exhausted now, Potato. This is all you, man.
Excellent. That is amazing. Definitely the kind of spread on times I think we would typically see, like we were talking about. There are a lot of places you could have faded. You could have only done Baron in and really, kind of completed most of the seed right there. But there's a lot of other places that you would feel bad if you faded it, and that's where it was. And so some of the runners, based on their skill or their personal preference, are going to go to those places. And so it definitely feels like the appropriate sort of time spreads based on what I imagine the checks were for everyone.
Yeah, great job by all the runners kind of coming together at that one final time right around the hour mark, which is a great marker, if you will, for having a well-developed flag set for a supermarket sweep, a good amount of power, and well executed by all the puffs. So great job to everyone who has finished and who will finish. Do want to let y'all know that Vitafro not able to join us for an interview this evening, which is perfectly fine. That is always the runner's choice. But we're going to see if we can find some friends for y'all in the interim. But meanwhile, I do want to make sure that everyone is made aware of what we have upcoming. We have a ton of clubs, first and foremost. So we also have community races. So upcoming, we have our community race tomorrow night. That is going to be at 10 p.m. Eastern on Free Enterprise 2. So that's up and coming. We have Baron Hero's Journey. This is a personal favorite of mine, and a little sad that I had to miss it last week. But very excited to be back to get to race it on Saturday. At 3 p.m. Eastern, Baron Hero's Journey, which is a Sea Hero flag set. That is going to be here on the main Free Enterprise channel. And then there is also going to be a little bit something special on Sunday on Free Enterprise 3. Not going to spoil that too much, but that's something that is coming up as well on Sunday. So stay tuned, friends. But looks like surprises, yes. So Potato, you did a phenomenal job, my friend, for your first time on commentary. Always appreciate always appreciate your insight on SMS, especially, and in general, of course. Huge GGs to all the puffs, especially Taco Mel and Vitafro. Great job to both of them. Always a difficult thing if this is the first time you volunteer for Restream to put yourself out there and let everybody watch on the big stage. So great job to both of them. Thank you, Alicel, behind the scenes, doing all the wonderful work, letting the fires be spread on stream with the power of the puffs instead of behind the scenes. And again, huge thank you to Sheep Launcher, pushing all the buttons and keeping them away from a hungry potato and a hungry possum. So we are going to be heading over to Power Up with Pride, it looks like. So let's go ahead and share the love over with Power Up with Pride. Yeah, one last time, thank you everybody involved. Potato, take it away, my friend. The last words are yours.
Thanks, Possum. Thanks to everybody for being here. Have a wonderful evening. Go over to Power Up with Pride. Share the love. This community is wonderful, and full of wonderful people. So the more we can, spread ourselves around, the better. It looks like GG, everybody, and have a wonderful night.